from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's Philly Late Night with Edmund Fox. Tonight's guest, Swoop Goose. And now, here's your host, Edmund Fox.
Welcome to Philly Late Night. I'm your host, Edmund Fox, and yes, this is a mustache, and no, I'm not sure if I'm still young enough for it to be ironic. Let's get to the headlines. The Philadelphia Zoo recently reopened to the public, and in order to keep visitors safe, the zoo has taken several steps, including requiring masks, 6 feet of social distancing, and the elimination of tiger rides for kids. Due to a national coin shortage, Wawa is asking customers who pay with cash to use exact change when possible, making this kindly old woman in front of you in line digging in her purse for 5 minutes the hero we need right now. The Made in America Music Festival, held annually in Philadelphia, has been canceled this summer due to COVID-19. The 7th installment in this concert series will instead be rescheduled and rebranded next year as the first annual Post-America Infection Rebirth Jamboree, hosted by God Emperor Jay-Z. Now this is a story all about how my wife got flipped turned upside down. This is a devastated Will Smith after discussing his wife's infidelity live on Facebook. I mean, if there's a better facial expression that captures 2020, I haven't seen it. Mainly because I haven't seen another person's actual face in months. Netflix is planning on producing a $200 million movie starring Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans. Though critics question the size of the budget and whether the $200 million price tag is justified, my wife assures me that it will be worth every penny. Last month, a crane collapsed on a house in Roxborough. This happened after the homeowner thought the crane operator looked tired and told him he could crash there for the night. So bad. AMC movie theaters are reopening with discounted tickets priced at only 15 cents a ticket. Concessions will also be significantly discounted, with a large popcorn only costing $37. With the release of the Hamilton musical on Disney+, criticism has grown about the show's potential exploitation of historical figures and events for entertainment purposes. And be sure to check out Lin-Manuel Miranda's latest production, Move the Musical. Due to a backup in garbage pickup, Philly City officials asked residents to put their trash out one day later than usual, which is a reasonable request considering Washington, D.C. has to deal with this garbage for the next 5 months. And those were your headlines. Before our main story tonight, a thank you to our sponsor, Philly Grit, the all-purpose seasoning and dry rub to give you that perfect Philly-style barbecue flavor. Goes great on beef, pork, chicken, seafood, and depending on how bad 2020 gets, pigeon, groundhog, and shoe. Go to phillygrit.com and use promo code PLN for 10% off and start putting that grit on everything. And now, for our main story tonight. If you had any delusions about all of humanity coming together during this pandemic, think again.
Police are trying to find the person who punched a Sesame Place employee after a dispute over wearing a mask. Yesterday, a man punched the 17-year-old employee while he was working at a ride. Earlier in the day, the worker reminded the man and the woman he was with that masks are required in the park. The couple managed to get away from security. They left in a vehicle registered in New York.
That's right. A 17-year-old employee at Sesame Place in Langhorne was sucker punched by a grown man over being reminded that to be in the park, he needed to be wearing a mask. I mean, can amusement park workers catch a break? They're often paid minimum wage to be outside in 100-degree heat, and now they have to deal with violent losers who go to Sesame Place without any kids, mind you. This guy who threw the punch before running away came to the park that day with his girlfriend. No kids. Who goes to Sesame Place for any other reason than to feel less guilty about not being a good enough parent the other 364 days of the year? And this is a pandemic. What did this guy think, that Sesame Place was in some sort of COVID-free bubble? Most amusement park attendees are normal, decent people, but there is a proportion that are just terrible human beings. You've seen them out with their families. Angry, red-faced, screaming dad, complete with sunglasses on the back of his head, and who could forget the legendary Karen? And with this being a pandemic, a significant chunk of that normal, decent group of amusement park patrons are the ones staying home where it's safe. So the concentration of these bad park goers is higher than ever, meaning that individuals working at places like Sesame Place are dealing with the cream of the crap of the tri-state area. And the punch this guy threw, we're not talking about a glancing blow in the heat of the moment either.
Police tell us the 17-year-old worker told a visitor about the mask requirement in the park, and later that day, police say that same person confronted the teenage worker and punched him in the face. The worker required surgery on his jaw.
That's horrible. And one of the most disturbing details is the part about later that day. How this loser who attacked this kid was stewing all day about being told to wear a mask. So much so that he actually went back, found the same employee just to attack him. Unfortunately, we live in a reality where parks like Sesame Place need to do more to protect against these kinds of incidents. And I have the solution. Arm the characters. That's right. Who is more trustworthy than the colorful cast of characters from Sesame Street? I can see it now. A taser wand for Abby Cadabby, rubber ducky nunchucks for Ernie, and the obvious choice for Elmo, a flamethrower. All joking aside, this is a tragic story, and I wish the victim a fast recovery. But this isn't an isolated incident. Anti-maskers have been having freakouts for months, like this Florida man in a Costco who was told he needed a mask to enter the store.
You're 6 feet away from you.
You're harassing me.
I'm not harassing you. You are infecting us.
Threatened.
You're
I
coming
feel
close to me.
threatened.
You're coming close to me.
Back off! Threaten me again! Back the up, put your phone down.
Yeah, that really happened. And it's our essential employees that are suffering the brunt of these morons. So to the guy who punched a 17-year-old kid at Sesame Place, and really anyone who has a temper tantrum about wearing a mask, whether it's at an amusement park, or a Florida Costco, or wherever, though your kids may be watching these guys on TV every week, know that rational people everywhere who just want this pandemic to end know who the real monsters are. All right, my guest tonight is the prolific Philly area podcast and streaming duo Swoop Goose. You can catch them on Spotify with their podcast All Things Nonsense, or on twitch.tv streaming live at swoop_goose. Here's my conversation with Paul Schierbaum and Mark White, better known as Swoop Goose. Pats and Genos, Embiid and Simmons, Paul Schierbaum and Mark White. The Philadelphia area is known for its famous duos. And today we welcome Swoop Goose to Philadelphia Late Night. Swoop Goose, welcome.
Cheers.
All
Thanks
right.
for having us.
No, thank you so much for being here. You are the first official guests on Philly Late Night. How do you feel?
I'm sorry for your fans.
They'll both be horribly
hear
disappointed. So Swoop Goose, for the people out there who don't know, tell them, what is Swoop Goose?
Oh God, what isn't Swoop Goose?
It's so many things.
It's
really.
so many things. It's mostly two guys who drink and play video games and occasionally record a podcast where we argue about things that don't need to be argued about.
That's the best kind of podcast.
It's a good summary.
That's
We basically just wanted an excuse to like, hey, we kind of do this normally. Why not make other people listen to it?
Hey, everybody, friends and family, listen to this podcast.
No, they don't know about this.
Keep it on the down
That's
low.
already disappointed in me enough.
So how do you guys know each other?
Well, we met in high school.
Mm.
We quickly bonded over
No, actually,
video games,
over
Resident Evil
franchise,
Resident Evil 4 to be precise. the
and
best one.
we were kind of stuck together for a while because we got lost trying to meet up with other friends in
Yo.
Red Robin, and we drove around telling each other ghost stories around Neshaminy for quite a while.
I was thinking of that
because we,
earlier
like-
today. And then, we just freaked each other out by telling scary stories in a weird...
In my
Right.
dad's minivan.
And then a week later, I proposed to him and asked if he would be my Swoop Goose. And he said yes.
That part's a lie.
But it's so romantic. And we need to keep it in.
It really does sound like a fucking romantic origin story. But yeah, just like video games, music. We met in high school and bonded over that shit.
You guys mentioned that you have a podcast and you're on Spotify and it's called All Things Nonsense.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's been mostly video games so far, but we want to do like more movies and series and stuff.
We do have the next one we're going to do is about anime called Japan Sinks. That's on Netflix. We do have a couple other ones about Netflix's The Witcher. So it's mostly video games, but kind of just whatever we feel like talking about.
I listened to one episode that you guys had on your podcast recently called Favorite Female Characters in Gaming.
Yes.
And I noticed that you did not include Ms. Pac-Man. And I wanted to know which one of you was responsible for that oversight.
She's a bitch.
Moving on to...
Well, she was a little before our era, our time. Yeah, we just, it wasn't like a best female characters. It was just our favorites.
Yeah, just personal, our lists.
And
Nice.
obviously, one of us really doesn't care for her.
I'm not going to say it again.
With video games, I feel like for a lot of people who get into video games, they kind of have that like aha moment. Can you guys kind of remember that moment or that game where you realized that like video games kind of captivated your interest, and this was something so interesting that it would kind of stick with you for years to come?
Well, I'll go first. Mine was probably The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. That was like the first game that I cared enough about to beat and like finish like beginning to end. Everything before that was just like Sega, Nintendo. So it was just like side scroller, shoot 'em ups and that kind of thing with like, it's fun to pick up and play for a little bit and then you get tired of it and move on to something else. Ocarina of Time was definitely the first one that I was like, holy shit, it's like playing just like a movie or a book or something,
Yeah.
It's very fun.
Mine is the natural enemy of Ocarina of Time because it's a better movie, which would be Final Fantasy VII. Because, like, same thing. I just played, like, Super Mario and Sega and all that. And it was just like, oh, you're a game where you're kind of just going to the right. And then, like, PlayStation and 64 came out. This can be something that's more involved. It's not just go fast, jump on stuff. And it's like, oh, there's actually, like, a lot of thematic elements to it. And there's, like, characters you kind of care about.
Nuance, character development. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Both good answers, but incorrect. Ms. Pac-Man was actually what we were looking for. Let's see. You guys also stream on twitch.tv at swoop_goose.
I mean, it's been going well. I think it's been a lot of fun, especially like the last few months because everybody has time to like watch.
It's fun. We've been playing Dead Space. We're going to be doing a co-op game next, and yeah, it's basically just what we would normally be doing, except we're being recorded doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun, like, hanging out and having people have the power to, like, comment and talk shit to us while we're playing. I mean, you've seen a few. We both get very easily frustrated for different reasons.
It can be very entertaining as a spectator to watch Mark get frustrated a little bit playing Dead Space.
Yeah, we're gonna do A Way Out next co-op because I mean
I
think that's more fun. It's more engaging
really...
for both of us.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, let me ask you guys. So one of the things I've noticed when I've watched your stream is the consumption of alcoholic beverages. Cheers. But the relationship between selecting your alcoholic beverage and the game that you're playing, do you think there's any sort of relationship between the game choice and drink choice?
We haven't really thought of any pairings. I think that'd be fun to do.
No. Actually, yeah, that is kind of a good idea.
We could have done zombies for any of the zombie games we played and get like real lit up.
I'm not a bartender.
I mean, it's rum and like orange drink.
Oh, that's all that's in it?
And maybe like some pineapple juice.
Oh, we should have done that.
There's something to it.
Well, I'm glad you said there's something to it, Paul, because I have a list of video games here. And for the lightning round, I'm going to give you guys a video game. And I would like you to share with me the drink pairing that you might select to go with the game.
Okay.
I'm into it.
All right, sweet. So we're going to start off with Halo.
I never had an Xbox. So I'm gonna say Alcoholics Anonymous on this one.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna change it to Halo 2 because we're playing by my rules now. No, let's see. I'm gonna say Natty Light because I played a lot of Halo 2 in college.
Okay.
And we drank Natty Light, and yeah, let's stick with Natty Light.
How about the original Super Mario Brothers for the Nintendo Entertainment System?
Oh, that's a Budweiser all the way.
You could go blue collar with a Budweiser, or you could go Italian with like a Negroni or something, which is
I don't even know what that is.
It's like Aperol and like I think grapefruit juice.
Oh, it's a mixed drink.
Yeah, it's a cocktail.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a
okay.
cocktail.
If you're just making stuff up, Paul, to impress us, it's working.
It's working. I can't call it out on.
We kind of touched on this one with Resident Evil before, but I'm going to throw Resident Evil back at Mark's shirt. And we had Zombie as a possibility.
For just Resident Evil in general? Ooh. I mean, maybe just like a good old fashioned, I would say.
High class, yeah, because you're in the big mansions.
You're in the big mansions, you got your fancy drink, and it's like the OG of survival horror.
All right, Fortnite.
Kool-Aid.
Fortnite's like, I was going to say, like, what's like
what flavor Kool-Aid?
Mix them all together. You can make like a batch of jungle juice and just get like a ton of Everclear and throw it in with the Kool-Aid.
Paul, you
Yes.
recently had a story published.
I did.
Cosmic Horror Monthly.
It's cosmic-horror.net.
Oh.
And the story's called Mondays.
Nice. Very
And it's
cool.
about how much I hate working in an office.
And not to be outdone, Mark, you recently got into a fist fight with a groundhog.
If only I did. If there was ever a small mammal that I wanted to punch, it was this groundhog. No, he started climbing into my car and chewed up a bunch of wires in the back of my engine that were not cheap to fix. If that cage fit in my sink, I was very tempted to end his life. But instead, I fed him several bananas and took him to a large park.
And so in addition to your extracurricular activities with the groundhogs, Mark, you also create video content for YouTube?
Yes, they are on the Swoop Goose channel as well. And the first one I made was a video on Red Dead Redemption 2 that's done pretty well. I have one for The Last of Us 2 that is in the making right now.
The Red Dead video came out, I think, March of last year, right? March of 2019 is when you put it out.
Yeah, so it was sometime right around there, but yeah, it was about a year and a half ago. And yeah, it's actually got, I think, over 800 comments. And that was the only awesome thing, like when it kind of started gaining like views and stuff. I remember looking at the comments and two people were saying horrible things to each other in the sub comments of a comment that had nothing to do with what they were arguing about, that already had nothing to do with my video. And I was just like, I made it, YouTube.
Before we go, I guess my last question is, what's next for Swoop Goose?
You got the Last of Us 2 video in the works?
Yeah, I'll have that out hopefully within like a week or so.
Yeah, we're going to do a podcast on Japan Sinks.
Yeah, and then we always stream on Thursdays, and Paul controls the social media, so anytime we're doing any of that, he always updates it.
Swoop Goose on Instagram.
Yeah, that's the main one.
And so twitch.tv swoop_goose, Thursday nights to catch you guys streaming.
Yes.
Spotify for the All Things Nonsense podcast.
It's Spotify, iTunes, Pandora, TuneIn.
It's everywhere.
All that good stuff.
You should be listening to Swoop Goose, and you can find Swoop Goose everywhere. A big thank you to Swoop Goose for being our inaugural guest here on Philly Late Night. Paul Schierbaum, Mark White, thank you both so much for your time. Best of luck with the stream, the podcast, and stay safe during this lovely pandemic.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Philly Late Night.
All right. That's it for this episode of Philly Late Night. Thank you to my guest, Swoop Goose, for being on the show. Stay tuned for more from Philly Late Night coming soon.